Hello everyone, welcome back. If you remember, in the last session, we formulated our own definition of design along with a discussion on different qualities of a designer. We stopped at this slide and I asked you to come up with some research on this term, which is called visual coherence. Have you looked into this? I'm sure you have gone through it and you must be having some understanding about this term. So this session, in this video lecture, we will focus more on other factors responsible for creating an effective design, understanding of various facets of graphic design, and discussion on design approaches and process. So let us start with understanding visual coherence. This is very important factor in graphic design, and it is going to become a very important asset uh, for executing any project uh, in real world. To become a successful communicator, one should have in-depth understanding of visual coherence. And in graphic design, visual coherence refers to harmony and consistency of design elements within a piece. This ensures that everything appears unified and aesthetically aligned. It involves the strategic use of fundamental elements like line, shape, spacing, color, typography, and imagery to create a visually pleasing and easily navigable layout. When a design is visually coherent, viewers can quickly grasp the intended messages and experience a smooth flow from one part of the design to next, making it the piece feel whole rather than fragmented. So when there is a visual coherence, all elements work in synergy. Somehow they complement each other, and through this synergy, they bring out the meaning which has been intended, and that is also bias free. So that means this visual coherence is really important to understand. Now let us look at this example and try to understand this visual coherence in a better way. If you look at this image, it is a part of a public health advertisement, title, table, wardrobe, chair, and it is aimed at raising awareness about the harmful effects of second-hand smoke on children. If you look at this image, there is a young boy, right, sitting at a table, appearing to hold a cigarette. However, it's implied that he's not actually smoking. Rather, this is a symbolic portrayal by replacing a boy's hand with an adult hand. Do you notice this? This hand, the left hand of the boy. So this is the adult hand which is holding the cigarette. So semiotic is playing its role in terms of creating this meaning, right? Another thing is the message on the image state that second-hand smoke in home hospitalizes 17,000 UK children a year, highlighting the danger that second-hand smoke poses to children's health in United Kingdom. If you look at design element and visual impact, there are three key aspects that are working in coherence. These three are the shock value, which is created by the design element which has been used, and that has been exaggerated by manipulating the boy image. The second is text and its placement, and the third one is color scheme. All these three things are playing a significant role in visual communication for this poster. Showing a child holding a cigarette is a shocking visual intended to grab attention. So this is a shocking part, and it's unusual, it is very unusual and unsettling when you see a very adult hand which is just merged with a child, right? And because of that, it is grabbing the attention. This falls under shock value. Another important thing which we just talked about is text, right? So the text is placed clearly in the corner, this side. If you look at my cursor, and this reinforcing the message with specific statistics, which adds credibility and urgency. So it says uh, it hospitalizes 17,000 UK children. So that statistics is very important in terms of making it credible and motivating people, right, to do something to stop this. The third thing which we just discussed is color. The soft home like colors contrast with the serious subject, this emphasizing the impact of smoking in a domestic setting where children should be safe. So the color scheme is again playing its role. Overall, the purpose of this ad is to make viewers, especially parents, realize the risk of exposing children to second-hand smoke and to encourage them to avoid smoking around the children. Now you see how different elements are working in coherence to reinforce intended message, right? Let us look into these two more examples. These are two examples from the same series reflecting on why visual coherence is important for a design to be successful. Similar to the previous example, in this case, the mother hand is replacing the girl child hand. So in both poster, if you look at the hand, you will find that there is a mother hand which is holding the cigarette, right? Also, there is a powerful contrast between the seriousness of the topic and child innocence. Just look at their faces, and the way, for example, in the second poster, the child is playing with the doll. So there is a huge contrast between the meaning, the seriousness of the topic, and the subject which has been taken to reflect on this seriousness, thus creating a very powerful visual impact on viewer. I hope you will agree with this. That means visual coherence is essential for the success of any visual communication design, especially in advertising, branding, user experience, or social awareness, because it ensures that a design is not only attractive but also functional and engaging. This is another example from user experience design. There is a task to save a document, and it has been shown in two ways. I have numbered it 1 and 2. Now, what do you think? Which one is a good example? First one or the second one? Which one you can say is a good design? So, understanding what makes a user experience good or bad can be subjective and difficult to define. And I'm sure some of you may not agree with the explanation which I'm going to give you in terms of making you understand that which design is good and which design is bad. But in this case, I'm sure that many of you will go with the first option, and you know why. The visibility of system status. If you look into one of the heuristic developed by Jacob Nielsen, visibility of system status states that users should be informed about what is happening inside a product or website in a reasonable response time following the action. That means if the user is unable to get the feedback after the action is performed, it will lead to confusion. Now, this is what happening in these two examples. If you look at the first example, where once you click save, it is responding and then saying the action has been taken and then it is saving. Whereas in the second case, where after clicking there is no action happening, so the response which is coming out after the performance, making first option uh, more, I mean, much better in terms of understanding than the second option. Now, this is a question for all of you. After this much of discussion and seeing so many examples, can you tell me what makes a good design or what makes a bad design? Anyway, I'm sure you will be able to list out many characteristic features of good design. So, whether it is about a poor communication or an aesthetically unpleasing composition, or there is something else which plays a significant role in terms of making a design bad or good. What about price, sustainability, and ease of understanding? Will these factors also play a crucial role in terms of making design good or bad? Let us take a newspaper as an example and examine good and bad design in terms of visual communication. If the paper has clear hierarchy, that means the headlines are bold and large, which is, visible on the screen, making it easy for readers to distinguish between major stories and minor ones. A consistent layout, that means each section follow a standard layout. So this is the one page, but if you're flipping through multiple pages in newspaper, uh, there the consistency in layout is really important. So if there is a consistent layout, then the reader will know where to look for news, editorials, sports, and effective use of. The third one is which is effective use of white space. Hierarchy guides reader attention from the most important stories to less critical content, whereas consistency in layout helps readers navigate the newspaper very efficiently. Also, an ample white space around articles and images prevent the page from looking cluttered, making it more readable and approachable. So, if these things are not followed in a design, it would be difficult for anyone to understand, and that makes a bad design. Clear? So, what you will say for this example? Is this a good design or bad design? Of course, if you look at in terms of visual hierarchy, the kind of font which has been used, the headings and subheadings, the font has been changed accordingly, the weight has been changed so that a proper visual hierarchy can be created. Another important thing is if you look at the column, there are six columns, and then things has been arranged in all these columns. So now I hope you will be able to differentiate between good design and bad design to some extent. I would suggest that whenever you look at something, try to argue it from these two perspectives. However, a balance between aesthetic and function is very important for the success of any visual design. Let us understand this with an example. What do you see on the screen? There are textual elements along with one yellow square in the corner. This one. It says a law of perceptual organization. Then there are other words which is about good continuation, similarity, closure, figure and ground, proximity, etc. So we are not going in deep into these laws because Professor Saurabh is going to cover this in detail when he is covering design principles. Here the point is, do you see this layout as a good composition in terms of visual communication? Do you see this as a good composition in terms of visual aesthetics and design function? Are you finding it difficult to navigate through this or concentrating on a single information? If yes, then what can be done to make it better, both in terms of function and aesthetics? So, what do you think about this composition? Here, the elements are same, fonts are same, but the arrangement of the elements have been changed. Do you feel that this is a better in terms of guiding your eye through this composition, or it looks pleasing to your eyes? If yes, that means this composition follows certain principles to make it compact and easy to understand. And this is what you need to understand. And this is what I'm trying to explain by giving you multiple examples. I hope it is clear. This is another example where famous graphic designer and typographer Hob Lubnin has used basic design fundamentals to create a powerful composition. If you look into the composition, the numbers has been used to create emphasis and impact. At the same times, it has, because of the size, it has taken a kind of shape and form. Now the small text, which are, there are two texts, question and answer, which is in the top and bottom. These thing has been placed taking reference of these bigger design elements, which is there in the form of number. So it is not randomly placed here and there. So there are certain reasons in terms of its organization. And this is how it makes it look beautiful and create powerful impact. So, what are those fundamentals? I have listed down some of them on the screen so that if you are interested after this lecture, you may research and read to have a better understanding. If you are unable to do that, don't worry, we will cover this in detail in our coming modules. These are valuable as guides but not as absolute rules that must all be followed in every work, because these fundamentals can help you to organize content and build a good narrative, but at the same time your understanding from the practices also helps you out to find out what is going to work and what is not going to work, what can communicate in a better sense and can be more effective. So all this understanding comes when you practice more and understand it with your interaction with other products and with your environment. All right, so I hope you will practice more at home, and then most probably that will help you out to refine your skills and understanding. Also, you must remember that the main aim of graphic design is not the creation of graphic forms, but the creation of effective communications. That means it should not be only pleasing to your eyes, but it should also work uh, as an effective means to communicate what has been intended to communicate with the user. Right? So the function and aesthetic has to be balanced. It should work in coherence. It should uh, work together. Then only the whole meaning can be communicated efficiently and effectively. This poster series by famous graphic designer David Carson is created to sensitize people against the shark fin trade, emphasizing the harmful practice of shark finning. Each poster uses bold visual and textual element to convey the message effectively. If you look at the left poster, this one, it depicts multiple triangular shapes resembling shark fins painted in blue and red. The red color may symbolize blood, suggesting the violence involved in the fin trade, and blue color may suggest its relationship with the ocean. And the repetition of the fins visually communicates the scale of the issue, emphasizing that countless sharks are affected. Also, if you notice, the website killthefintrade.com is placed at the bottom here, providing a clear call to action for viewers. So the text is very minimal, but at the same time, it's very powerful. So to me, the series uses minimalistic but impactful visuals to highlight the brutality of the shark fin trade. The repeated use of red and blue colors reinforces the campaign's purpose, establishes the context, and the design effectively uses visual cues to evoke an emotional response and motivate viewers to support the cause. To create similar kind of impact and communication, it requires the consideration of three essential elements of this profession. As listed on the screen, these are a method, basically the design or the process which you are following to execute the project, an objective of what to communicate, objective of what to achieve, and the medium or a vision, so that how and in which form you want to achieve this. So these, if you follow these three essential elements, most probably you will be able to solve the problem. And design elements and principles are going to be essential tools to help designer to produce intelligent and thought-provoking design to communicate complex ideas in a simple and effective manner. Let us discuss a few more examples to understand the power of graphic design in terms of communicating messages very clearly and straightforwardly to the audience. What do you get from this example? The term says racism, right? But for a moment, you just forget about what is the meaning, or maybe you don't know how to read English, and you are looking at this purely as a visual. With the characteristic features the letter form has, it looks very elegant, very traditional, right? And then very classic as well. Do you agree with this? That the difference and change between this stroke thickness is also helping out in terms of enhancing the feeling of classics. Now, the whole meaning is getting changed, whereas the actual meaning of racism is very different. Now, what do you think? This is self explanatory, and is, if one doesn't know how to read, still they can get the idea of what racism is, isn't it? So, racism is to do with the discrimination, a rough treatment, and a very old practice. So, very rugged treatment to the letter. And at the same times, you can also see uh, a letter form has been changed into an image, and then the color, red color, is also reflecting on the idea behind racism, isn't it? So this is what, if you play with these fundamentals, you can create a very powerful and impactful design. This is another example of a poster issued by MREF. MREF Health Africa is the largest health development non-government governmental international organization based in Africa. This poster is a social awareness campaign aimed at drawing attention to the water scarcity issue in Africa. The design is intended to evoke empathy and highlight the hardship faced by many Africans who must walk a long distance to access drinking water. That hardship and pain is visible through cracks and texture, as well as equally supported by the text in the bottom. So, this is how, if the fundamentals, or if the principles are used effectively, it can become a very powerful tool to support, or to enhance the overall impact and communicate message through your design. So, if you can summarize the understanding from the last two posters, racism and MREF, it is clear that graphic design is a convergence of text, illustration, photographs, and design. So, all these elements work together and then ultimately result into a very effective communication. Now, let us look at various facets of graphic design. It can be grouped between these five major categories: visual branding, advertising, publication design, packaging design, and web design. Now, if you go in deep into these five categories, you will find that graphic design is uh, related with identity design, information design, publication design, advertising, book design, signage, movie titles, type design, right? Web design. You can also say typography and experimental typography. There is a broadcast design, game design. Everywhere, graphic design has its role. Within identity, you will have logo design, Within publication, there is magazine, newspaper, books, brochure, posters, right? Within packaging, you have uh, the graphical elements which goes on package. You have information which goes on those packets. Hoarding, billboards, so advertising is also a very significant part of graphic design. So, I hope you are getting this understanding of what are the different avenues and then places where graphic design plays a very significant role. Another important thing to remember is design doesn't exist in isolation. It adapts to and is influenced by its surroundings. That means design is contextual. And in graphic design, the phrase design is contextual means that the design must be created with consideration for its specific purpose, audience, and environment. The effectiveness of a design depends on how well it communicates within its intended context. That means how effectively it communicates the message to its user in a specific uh, social and cultural setup. For example, a poster aimed at raising awareness for a social issues require a different tone, imagery, and typography than an advertisement for a luxury product. Similarly, a design that works well on a billboard may not be effective on a smartphone screen due to size and attention span differences. Designers must consider factors like cultural relevance, medium, preferences, and message clarity to ensure that their design resonate and achieve its intended impact in each unique setting, right? This Adivasi Week Festival logo is a good example to understand this further. It has used tribal imagery and motifs to reflect on the culture and background. Just imagine if something else has been done with this, which is not at all related with the tribe and their motives or their background. I'm sure it will not make any sense. Also, our understanding and interpretation of design are shaped by our past experiences, memories, and cultural backgrounds. I hope you will agree with this. This means that people may decode or interpret a design differently based on their personal history and associations. For example, consider a red dot used on the road signage and a red bindi used on woman's forehead. Red dot alone might signify urgency, danger, or excitement, often associated with stop signs or warning. However, the red bindi, a dot worn on the forehead, is an important cultural and religious symbol in South Asian cultures, especially in India, and it may signify marriage, motherhood, etc. That means our personal and cultural backgrounds influence how we perceive color, symbols, and design elements. Designers often consider these factors to create visuals that resonate universally or target a specific audience more effectively. Similarly, in this case, this red tick mark will not make any sense to people who have not experienced the brand Nike and may evoke other feelings. So that means experience plays a very significant role. All right, then, till now we discuss a lot of concepts and idea behind good and effective communication design. But the big question is how to start a graphic design project. So take some time and think about it. And by the time I join you guys in the next video lecture to elaborate and discuss this, I hope you will have some understanding of your own. Till then, goodbye and see you soon.